Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Susan's Just Making It. I'm Susan, and as always, I'm here making stuff, messes, chaos, and just trying to make it through life. If you've been here before, welcome back, and if this is your first time watching, welcome to my channel. Hope everyone's doing great, and if you like today's video, don't forget the thumbs up, everyone, right down here. It takes a quick second to hit the thumbs up, it means the world to me, and it really helps my channel. So in today's video, I'm going to be starting a series of some crafting videos for the fall and Halloween season. And in today's video, I am going to be doing basically the foundations of the vignettes and groupings that I will be doing for fall and Halloween. So I'm going to do an introduction, I'm going to show you the materials and what I'm going to be transforming, and then I will be putting in clips of the process of transforming them into the final product. So hopefully you'll enjoy what I have for you guys, and like I said, I'm showing the process so that if you have similar materials or want to make a similar project, you can see how easy it is to do these things for yourself. So this series is kind of going to go along as I do the projects, and then in the end I will show the groupings of decor when I put them out to be displayed. So for those of you that follow my channel, you probably have seen some of these things recently. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what I'll be working on. The first thing I'm going to be making over is this tray I recently picked up at a thrift store. I picked this up for $1.99, and I'm going to be making over that tray so I can use that in some decor. I'm also going to be transforming these, not majorly, but I'm going to do a minor transformation on this 2-pack of risers. I picked these up at the bargain bin store for $1 for the 2 of them. So I'll be doing something with those. Also, I'm going to I have a little bit of a mess here. This riser tray, not riser tray, but this what do I call it? It's totally escaping me. Anyway, it's a tray from the Dollar Tree. I got the rectangular tray. I'm going to be making this over to use for decor. A charger tray. I'm going to make this over to use this in decor, and then I will be making another tray from 2 Dollar Tree canvases. These are the 8x10 sizes. I'm going to be using 2 of these, and I'm also going to be using some round wood beads with the canvases to make the tray. So some of the other materials I'm going to be using are adhesives. I'm going to be using hot glue and the hot glue gun for a few things. I'm going to be using some E6000 glue. The hot glue is more of a temporary bond. The E6000 will be more of a permanent bond. I'm going to be using some of this jute twine. I'll be using some of this nautical rope from the Dollar Tree. So it's $1.25 and it's for 9.5 feet. The jute I've had in my stash for a long time. I don't even remember where I got it. I've had it so long. But you can pick up similar things at Walmart or the Dollar Tree. So it's in any craft store. So that's easy to find. I'm going to be using some chalk paints. I'll be using black and ivory. And I'll also be using some of the home decor antiquing wax. I hope I have enough. There's only a little bit left in there, but I think I should have enough. So I'm going to be using those. I'm going to be applying those with just some of the foam brushes. They're much easier than the paint brushes because when I'm done, I will just throw them away instead of cleaning them, and you don't have the brush strokes. I have to pick up some more of those because I'm getting low on them. I'm also going to be using some of these giant craft sticks that I found. Oh, and these you can pick up anywhere. Dollar Tree, craft stores, Walmart. They're everywhere. I picked these up at a recent Walmart haul. I had the jumbo ones. These are the giant ones. As you can see, they're quite long. And I was trying to see if there was a measurement, but I don't see without my glasses that well. But I paid It's a 45 pack. I paid under $4 for these. I think they were around $3.88, but I'm not sure. But I found these in the Walmart crafting section. I originally wanted to use wood paint stir sticks, but they weren't as easy to find, and they were a little bit more than what I wanted to pay for crafting DIY. So I picked these up at Walmart. So I have a little small scrap of stamp paper that I'm going to be using, and also the bamboo pack of bamboo skewers. You can pick these up at the Dollar Tree as well. These won't be used in the project, the finished product, but they will be used in the process. So, and I also picked up a rag for when I do the waxing, the wax. It's kind of like a wax slash stain. Some people just use it, just paint it on and use it as is, but that's a little bit dark for my taste. You can either put it on and let it dry like that. I try to wipe some off so it's a tiny bit lighter. Personal preference. So this is just a cleaning rag that I had around, and I just use an old cleaning rag so that when I'm done I just throw it away, because with it having a waxy consistency, I am not putting it in the washer. So that is pretty much what I think I'll be using. I'm probably forgetting something. If so, and I have to jump up and get it, I will let you know if I add any extra materials. So these are the materials I'm starting with. I will be showing the process. Altogether we will have 3 trays and the 2 risers to work with, and like I said, we'll show the process, and then at the end you'll get to see all of the finished products. Again, this is for the home decor for the upcoming holiday season, fall and Halloween. But I started with these because basically this is going to be the foundation, and then other things are going to be added. So figured it was a good spot to start with. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video, get my area set up, the camera set up at a different angle so you can actually see what I'm doing, and then we'll get started transforming these into the finished product. So I will see you soon. Okay everyone, so the first project that we're going to tackle is the octagon shaped wood tray that I picked up at the thrift store for $1.99. I'm going to transform this. I'm not particularly fond of it how it is. I want to do more of like a farmhouse feel for this. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and put some paint on this. I'm only going to paint the inside and outside of the sides. I'm not going to paint this because it's going to be covered. I'll probably just do a little bit inside just so in case any of it shows, and I'm not going to do the bottom because obviously the bottom's not going to show. So I'm going to go ahead and use this Waverly chalk paint in the color Ivory. I purchased this at Walmart recently for just under $6 for the 8 fluid ounces. It is an acrylic paint with a matte finish. It's a chalk paint basically. No prep, which makes it very easy. You don't have to bother with sanding and priming. And it is water based, so it's very easy cleanup, soap and water cleanup. Very easy to use. So I'm going to use this, and I'm going to apply it with one of these little sponge brushes. Like I said, that way, I mean, you can clean them, but I usually don't. I just toss them because they're so inexpensive. I just keep quite a few on hand. Actually, I need to buy some more. So I don't even stir this. I just give it a little shake and you're good to go. So I'm just gonna, this is probably gonna take 2 coats to be honest. And if you haven't used chalk paint before, it is pretty thick, so just to be mindful of that. And I will do the 1 coat and obviously let it dry and then come back and do a 2nd coat. And as you can see, it goes on very easy. So I'm going to probably just paint this and fast forward it through it because there's no reason for you guys to sit here and watch this slow, tedious process. I'm going to go ahead and paint the inside and the outside, let it dry, and do a 2nd coat. Actually, I don't even think I'm going to film that. I may stop at some point and show you the progress, but there's no reason for you to sit here and be bored watching me just paint. So I will be back to show you some progress when I've made a little bit of progress on this. I will be back shortly. Okay, as you can see, I painted the inside edge of this, and went inside here a little bit in case any of it shows at the very outside. It looks pretty yucky. Not a good job at all. This is only the first coat. That's to be expected. The light paint on the dark wood, it's going to take 2 coats. Probably the second coat I will thin it down a little bit with water so there's not as many brush strokes. So I'm going to go ahead and paint this top edge and the outside, and then we're going to let it dry and come back and do a second coat. Chalk paint dries relatively quick. I would say an hour or 2 is plenty of time to come back and do the second coat. It's not like you need to let it dry overnight or half the day. A couple hours and you can usually throw that second coat on there. So I'm going to go ahead and paint the outside and let it dry so we can do a second coat. Okay, I have painted the inside of the sides and the outside of the sides. I am putting this aside to dry. While that's drying, I'm going to start on the next step to save time. I'm going to be using these giant craft sticks. These are going to be put down on the bottom as wood slats. Some of them are going to need to be trimmed. So they're not going to go completely across in some places, so we're going to have to piece it together like slats. But what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go ahead and where it just starts to become round, I'm going to trim them off so that they're straight across instead of curved. And I'm just going to use my kitchen shears. I figure if these are strong enough to potentially cut through poultry bone and stuff like that, they'll definitely be strong enough for these craft sticks. So I'm going to, I hope anyway, so I'm just going to trim them off straight. I know I'm not in frame, but let me see. I'm trying not to have this fly everywhere. I think the paint's dry enough on the inside that it's not going to matter too much. So it's not perfectly straight, I don't think, but and that's why I painted a little bit inside so that if they don't butt up exactly, it's not going to be as noticeable. So I'm gonna go ahead and trim off, I don't know, like a half dozen of these, only on one side though, because I'm not sure the length I'm going to end up having to use. I may trim them part way, so I'm only going to do one side for now, and then I can always come back and trim off and cut them to length when I need to, basically. So I'm going to go ahead and go off camera. I'm just going to trim down, like I said, a half a dozen, maybe 8 straight across on one side, and then I'll trim the other side as needed. So that's all I'm going to do. So I'm going to pause the video, trim some of these down, and then I'll be right back with the next step. Okay, I went in and I trimmed some of these down on one side. And I forgot to mention that I just use these little snack bags to put my sponge brush in between coats so that it doesn't dry out and get hard. It's definitely a lifesaver. So this is not ready for the second coat. Rewind. Second coat just yet. Still a little damp, but I want to go ahead and do this step. I'm going to probably go back and forth just to save time. It's dry enough that it's not going to make a mess, but I will do this step, then go back and do the second coat. While that's drying, I'll do another step. So basically these are going to be the slats for the bottom. Now I think I'm going to go ahead and start in the middle and work my way toward the edges. And so what I want to do is I'm putting this about the middle. It doesn't have to be perfect. I don't think anybody's going to come in and you know, examine this, and if they do, they need to find better things to do with their time. But I'm going to try to find it kind of flat, and it's not going to be perfect, but I'm going to have to stagger these. I don't want all of the seams showing up even. It's going to look really strange, so we're going to stagger them. So I may even have to number the pieces for when I put them, actually glue them down. But I want this first piece of the seam to be pretty much in the middle. So I'm just going to eyeball it because it's not an exact science. And I'm just going to put a pencil line and go ahead and cut where the pencil is. And again, I need to remember to do this in frame so you can see what I'm doing. And just put this piece aside. I'm not throwing these away because I may need these later on, and I don't want to throw them away and then need them. So I'm just pretty much gonna line this back up where I want it. Like I said, it doesn't have to be super perfect because I don't think it's going to be that noticeable. And then we're going to take another piece that's trimmed off, and I'm going to put it over here on the opposite side. And like I said, it may not meet up perfectly, and that's why I painted in a little bit, so that if it doesn't line up perfectly, you're not going to have white and wood and stuff like that showing. And I'm just going to, where it overlaps, make the other pencil mark so that I can oops, cut this as well where the pencil mark is. And like I said, I'm not doing a lot of measuring, and it's not going to be exact. I don't want this to be a project that's too fussy because it's not really necessary, in my opinion. So again, I'm just going to make sure that they're going to meet and line up right. And see, there is a little bit of a gap, but it's going to be fine once it's glued down. It is not going to be that noticeable. And then by the time you have decor on the tray, you're really not going to notice if there's a little gap here and there. That's the thing about handmade stuff. It is not going to be perfect. So anyway, there is my first you know, sticks that I'm starting with. So basically what I'm going to do is trim these down so that they'll all fit in here when they're glued down. But like I said, I don't want to, I'm just going to use these for example, I don't want all the seams straight in the middle. So I'm going to do this off camera because it probably is going to be pretty time consuming. I'm going to trim these to size, but when I do so, I'm going to be mindful to make it so that the seams are more staggered, so that so they look more like when you do a wood floor, all the seams aren't, you know, straight, they're staggered. So basically I'm going to do the same concept. So I'm going to go ahead and do this off camera. It's pretty self-explanatory. Just trim off the rounded parts, trim them to size, staggering them randomly, so that when they're glued down, there's like a little bit of a pattern. So hopefully that makes sense, so that doing it off camera isn't throwing you off too much. When I get them cut, I'll kind of show you how they're arranged in here, so you kind of understand what I'm saying. I'm sure most of you do, but if you're a visual person, you'll understand what I'm trying to explain. So I'm going to go ahead and pause, trim these down, lay them in here so you kind of get a visual of what I'm talking about. Then I'm going to go back, put the second coat on. While the second coat's drying, we're going to stain these because the raw wood against the ivory color just is too washed out. It's just not going to work. And I did choose ivory instead of white. It's a personal preference. If you're to do a similar project, whether you use an ivory or white, I just thought the ivory was a little bit of a warmer shade than plain white. I wasn't sure which one to use, but I went ahead with the ivory. But it's just personal preference. White is a little bit more sterile, and this is a little bit warmer. So I'm going to go ahead and trim these down, and then I'll be right back to show you how they look laid out in the bottom of the tray. Okay, I wanted to cut in here real quick and show you the progress I'm making with trimming the craft sticks down. Now, I started in the middle, but I had to shift these up a little bit just so that they would fit because of the width. Then how this is angled, obviously straight across is not going to work. So basically what I did was just took a piece, this is one of them, and I kind of played with the angle. I cut an angle, and then if it didn't quite fit, I placed it and then eyeballed until I got the angle right. Once I got the angle right with one piece, I used it like as a template against a straight piece, and then I just traced a line to cut. So I only had to figure out the angle one time. Now mind you, each strip, I have to refigure the angle because of course the angle changes as you move along. So that is what I did to get the angle that I needed for where it's angled. Now when I get over here, as you can see on this one, that there's only one more width. It's a little bit wider, I mean narrower than the stick, so I am going to have to when I get to this point trim the last strip. I'm going to have to trim down the stick a little bit narrower. So if this was a rectangle or a square, it would be much easier. And you see there's gaps, but that's, once it's glued down, you see it's, a lot of them are going to disappear. Just some of these sticks are bowed from cutting them because they're so thin. And another thing, if you're cutting these, yeah, chances are you're going to get some splintering. Like here's one. If I can get it to show up good. See it splintering? That's why it's always good to have more of these than you're going to use, because you may mess a few up. It's just going to be a matter of getting a feel for how much pressure to use to avoid splitting them. But toward the ends, they're going to split more because there's less length. So just an FYI. But like I said, I'm not using like a protractor or anything like that. I'm just kind of eyeballing it and playing with it, trimming it, putting it down in there to see how it fits, trimming it a little bit more. And I do have this to do some distressing, but if I was really anal about it, I could always sand it down to make them fit more perfect. But personally I'm not that worried about the few gaps. I don't think it's really going to make that much of a difference. These are going to be stained. It's going to blend in a lot more because it has the dark under it. It's really not worth sweating over, I don't think. Like I said, the whole nature of handmade things is that it's not perfect. It's going to be somewhat rustic. And by the time you put your decor down in the tray, you are not going to notice a few slight imperfections. Crafting is supposed to be fun. I personally don't feel it's worth doing the measuring and being very precise, because then at that point it becomes more work than fun. But that's just my personal opinion. Now, if I were selling these or doing them for a gift, yes, I would take more time and be a little bit more precise and perfect. But personally, it doesn't bother me that much, it having a little bit of imperfections in character. So just throwing that out there. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video and try to cut these last few pieces and place them in. I just did want to stop and show you that if you're doing something that's irregular shaped, you may have to you know, figure out these angles a little bit. As you can see, this is splintered a little bit more, but that's going to be on the bottom. You're not even going to know. I just tried to put the smoother sides toward the top, obviously, and so I just wanted to stop and show you like the progress. And I got a little piece there, and if you can notice, I tried to stagger the seams so it looks the way it's supposed to. I did have to recut a couple pieces because I had trimmed them, and then I noticed that the seams were like really close, like one here and then the other one might be right here, and it was too close, it looked weird. So I recut it so they're staggered more random. So hopefully that makes sense. I'm gonna go ahead and pause, cut these last few pieces, show you how it looks with them all in place. Then I'm going to I probably will number them so I can remember how they fit back in here. I'll number them like on the bottom so the pencil mark doesn't show, and then I'll go ahead and do the second coat. While that's drying, I'll go ahead and stain these. Obviously I'm going to only stain the one side and maybe the edges. There's no reason to stain what's going to be glued down. So I'll be back to show you how it looks with all these kind of placed in there. Okay, so I have all the pieces cut and placed in here how they're supposed to be. Wasn't really what I would say difficult, but it was time consuming doing the angles and stuff. But like I said, it's always nice to have a few extra in case you make a mistake. You know, they're only craft sticks. I was gonna say I thought that fit in there better. It's just, they fit in here pretty good, but they're shifting around. There might be a little bit of a gap in this one, but it'll be okay. So yeah, just time consuming. A lot of it I eyeballed. I didn't particularly measure it. Once I got one angle right, like I said, I used that to cut the other angles. These ones I just trimmed down, which was super easy because that's the direction the wood goes in, so they're very easy to cut the width down. Like I said, a little time consuming, but not a big deal. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is number these, and I'm not even going to number them on the back. I'll just number them right on the top because I can erase it. Super easy. Paint this, and then stain them and put them in here. Glue them down. Now I'm going to glue these down with E6000 because I don't think hot glue is going to hold permanently, and plus it tends to be bulkier, where this I can thin out a little bit. I have a lot of scraps over here that were all shredded in little pieces where I trimmed. But these are some scraps that are left over. These I am going to keep. I'm going to put them probably in a little sandwich bag and put them up because I can probably use these for something else. If not, I can throw them away at a later date, but I don't want to throw them away now and then go, oh, I should have held on to them because I only needed just this little piece for something. I will be making maybe some pumpkins, and I was just thinking maybe these would be good for the stems. I don't know for sure, but I don't want to throw them away just yet because I might be able to use them. Always throw them away later. They even have like a few little squares. You never know. So I try not to hoard and hold on to it for too long. If I don't use it within a certain amount of time, I go ahead and throw it away, but I don't throw anything away too prematurely. So I'm going to go ahead and just number these, take them out, and do the second coat of this. I will come back and show you what this looks like with the second coat of paint on, so you can see the coverage a little bit better. Okay, I put a second coat on the tray of the ivory color, and the inside wasn't covering as well, which is understandable. The light color on the dark wood, so I did have to do a third coat, and there were a few spots on the outside that didn't cover, so I went ahead and did a third coat on that too. Figured I might as well just do a third coat all together instead of just touching it up and having it uneven. So because chalk paint tends to be a little thick, there are some spots that got a little gloppy or a little bit thicker. I thought I would just go ahead with this little piece of sandpaper and distress some of the thicker spots to you know, thin them down. Plus I like a distressed look anyway, so I'm just going to go in with the sandpaper here and there and distress it a little bit so it doesn't look perfectly painted, because I do like a more distressed look. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll come back and show you how it looks after I've distressed some of it, and then we're going to work on staining some of these pieces and gluing them down to the bottom. So I'll be back to show you what this looks like after I do some distressing. Okay, so I bumped the recording back on while I was trying to get rid of some of the dust from distressing. Anyway, I went in and I did a little distressing, very minor, as you can see, just a little bit here and there, not major, a little bit on the edges where you would normally see wear, like where the handles are, and a little bit on the edges just where normal wear would be, just so it doesn't look super perfect. That is definitely not what we're looking for here. A little rustic vibe going on, farmhouse rustic vibe. So for those of you that are curious, I'm using a 120 sandpaper to do that, just enough to take off a tiny bit of paint. So this has been painted with 3 coats, slightly distressed. Now I am going to work on staining these sticks. So I'm going to put this tray off to the side, so I have a little bit of room here to work, and I'll be back just to show you a couple of these, how I'm staining them. Like I said, I did go ahead and number them, so they're all numbered so that they're like a puzzle when I put them, actually go to glue them down in the tray. And I just numbered them left to right, top to bottom, you know, just the way we read. So I will be back with a cleared off spot, and we'll stain a couple of these, and then I'll go off camera and finish staining them, and then we'll get them glued down to the bottom, see how they look, and then there's another step I wanted to do after that. So I'll be right back in a moment with that. Okay, so here are all the little pieces for the bottom of the tray. Like I mentioned, they're all numbered. I'm going to stain them. It doesn't have to be in any particular order, obviously, to stain them, just when I glue them down. So I'm using this Folk Art Home Decor Wax from Plaid. This is water-based, so it's soap and water cleanup. This is probably around the same price as the Waverly was, approximately $6 or so for an 8-ounce container. I don't remember where I purchased this. I know Walmart has the Waverly. The Folk Art, I think, don't quote me, but I think you can find this more readily on Amazon and maybe Michael's. I'm not sure about Michael's, but I know you can most definitely find this on Amazon, because I will be using this Folk Art chalk paint in on another tray, and I know I purchased this from Amazon. I'm pretty sure I got this from Amazon too, but I'm not positive. So you can find the Folk Art on Amazon and the Waverly at Walmart. I know Michael's sells chalk paint, but I don't know what brand right offhand. So I'm going to go ahead and use this. Like I said, water-based, so it's easy to clean up. It's just the antique wax. And I'm just going to shake it up a little bit. Doesn't really require being stirred. I just shake it up a little bit. And as you can see, it's pretty medium to dark brown. Again, I'm using the sponge applicator so I can just throw it away when I'm done. And I'll start with one of the bigger pieces. Make sure the numbers are on the back. And as you can see, I mean, if you like a darker wood, you can just paint it on and leave it like this. I, however, would prefer a lighter wood, so I'm going to wipe some of it off. Now, here's a tip that I found out the hard way working with this wax before. Do not go in, and if you're going to wipe some of the wax off, do not go in, and I'm going to do the sides as well, as you can see, just in case there's gaps, you don't have the lighter wood showing through. Don't go in and wax all of them and then go in and wipe the wax off after you wax them all, because once this starts to dry, it's very, very difficult to remove and buff out. Ask me how I know. Learned that the hard way. So you're going to kind of want to wipe them down as you go. Otherwise, yeah, you're just making more work for yourself. And because the wood is so thin, I'm just going to lay it flat. And then see, I'm just going to wipe some off. Now, like I said, if you like the darker, you can totally leave it. It's not going to hurt anything. But personally, I like it a tiny bit lighter. Not that this is light, but it shows the little bit of wood grain that is there. Not that you're going to expect a huge amount of wood grain off craft sticks, but you're going to get some grain, and it's going to be a little bit darker and more of a realistic look for a stain versus almost a brown paint. I've seen many crafters that just paint it on and leave it, but I don't know, it looks too dark and thick and stuff like that for me. Plus it takes longer to dry. So I just go in and I buff it down. I'm not worried about the edges quite as much. If they're a little rougher and you're not really going to see them. So, you know, there's one piece. And we'll just do another one real quick. Again, I made sure that the number's on the back so I can read the numbers when I go to glue them down. And it doesn't have to be perfect because you're buffing a lot of it off. And I try to go a little thin. Not that that matters either. It's just if you go thinner, you're not using up as much product and it lasts longer. And I'm all about being frugal and stretching a dollar. So I'm not going to waste if I don't have to. Doesn't make any sense to just glop it on and then wipe most of it off. So I go a little thin, but that's just me. So again, I did the edges. I'm gonna set it down flat because it's easier to handle. and that's why I have paper down on my table. As you can see, there's paint on it. This is just white packing paper that you can get with wherever sells packing supplies. I purchased this at U-Haul, and I am by no means plugging U-Haul. I'm not very fond of them for my own reasons, but I just purchased this box of paper at U-Haul, and I use it for packing up fragile things and for protecting my wood surfaces, and it's not super expensive. Of course, you can use, you know, a drop cloth, newspaper. I just like this because I thought I broke it, but I did split it a tiny bit, but it's gonna be fine. You're not getting the ink on your hands. So, personal preference, I just don't want to go around with inky hands. It's bad enough that I'm probably gonna have brown hands for a couple of days because most of it will wash off, but not all of it. When I work with the stains and the waxes and ink, yeah, it looks like my hands are dirty, but they're not really. It's just that it stains my hands a little bit. Of course, if you don't want your hands getting yucky, you can always wear gloves, but it's not that big of a deal to me. I know my hands are clean, just stain. So there's another piece, and as you can see, you know, you've got your little bit of wood grain showing, which I like, because before you stain it, you know, you can barely see the grain, and this brings it out so much more, and it just looks more like, you know, wood slats versus, you know, the balsa wood stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and go off camera. I'm gonna go ahead and stain and wipe these down, and then we're gonna glue them down to the bottom of the tray, and then there's one more step after that, and then we'll see what it looks like when it's all done. So I will be back with these all stained. Okay, everyone, I have all these pieces stained with the antiquing wax. As you can see, a lot of the wood grain came out using the wax. So I'm surprised my hands washed up as well as they did. My hands were very stained by the time I got done with these, but that's the advantage of using water-based product. Sorry about that. Water-based product that it's easy soap and water cleanup. If this had been oil-based, my hands would probably be stained for a few days at least. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring the tray back, and now it's time to put the puzzle together and glue all of these back into the tray. Again, I'm going to use the E6000. Hopefully that's going to cooperate with me, and we're going to get these glued down. So yeah, we're going to get started with that. Now, as you can see, that was a bit of a puzzle. If I had not numbered these, it would have taken me probably half the day to place these back in where they went. There is a little bit of a movement with the E6000 because it's more of a gel glue and it does take a while to set up. So that was very helpful in budging these a little bit to make them fit. You do see that there are some gaps, but that's minor. It's not a big deal at all. However, because the glue, the wood pieces are so thin, and then adding the tiny bit of moisture with putting the wax on them, some of them are bowed a little bit. As you see, I was having to push some of them down because they're wanting to lift a tiny bit. So what I'm going to do is see if I can find a book with some weight to it, or something else with some weight to kind of hold it down until the glue cures. It says on the package, I'm trying to see how long it says for a cure time. Let's see. It's water, soap and water cleanup. I am not seeing. It says waterproof, non-flammable, paintable, flexible. Let's see. Industrial strength adhesive. Clear, transparent, self-leveling formula. But I'm not seeing a cure time. It could be on the back, super tiny. But I want to give it a good 4, 5, 6 hours at least to make sure it sets up, because this is more of a permanent long-term bond, so it is going to take a while to cure. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can find something to weight this down and give it a lot of time to dry, so that I don't have them lifting up. I don't, like I said, I don't mind the little gaps here and there. That does not bother me at all, but I do want them at least adhered well. I don't want it coming apart you know, while I'm using it, or a couple months or whatever down the road. So I want to make sure that they're glued really well. So I'm going to go ahead and find something to weight this down. I have one more step left to do, and then we'll see what it looks like when it's done. And as you see, this is why I painted a little bit, which in retrospect, if I would have kept it wood, it probably would have looked better, but it doesn't really matter. It's not that big of a deal. Like I said, once it's laying flat on a table, you know, this is what you're going to see, little glimpses of the inside. You know what I mean? So you see at an angle, you're not even going to notice. It's not that important. Like I said, if people are coming in my home and looking that close, they should not be looking that close at the stuff in my home. I know it's all about doing the best job we can, but I'm not going to get bogged down in the details. It's not fun when you start making it too exact or getting into the details too much. So let me find something to weight this down, because they keep wanting, some of them want to keep popping up, and then we'll do the last step and we'll see what it looks like when it's all done. So I'll be back to finish this off. Okay, I found a nice thick book to kind of put some weight down on this, to hold these down while it dries. The next thing I'm going to be using is this jute twine, and let's see if I can find the end of it. Okay, what I'm going to do with this, and I'm going to need to step away and do this off camera just because I don't have a cord long enough for where I'm at working on this. I'm working on this at my kitchen table, which is in the middle of the floor, and the outlets are just far enough away that the cord's not going to reach. I want to take this and wrap it around the handle. However, I need to hot glue an end down so it'll stay while I wrap it. So I'm going to cut a length of this that's short enough to work with, because obviously I can't fit this through the handles. So short enough for me to work with, but hopefully long enough that I don't run out. So I'm going to cut a couple lengths of this. I'm going to go over to the hot glue gun and glue it down. Then I'll come back on camera, wrap it around, It'll probably be at a higher speed so it doesn't bore you to death. And then I'll step away and glue the other end down to hold it. And then we'll see what it's looking like at that point. So I'm going to get this started and we will get this jute wrapped around the handle. Okay, as you saw, all I did was take the jute twine and wrapped it around the top part of the handles, attached it with hot glue to hold it, wrapped it, and then attached it with hot glue to hold it down. That could be a little bit snugger there, but it's fine. Just an FYI, if you are using a hot glue gun, be careful. I kind of burnt myself. There's a little tiny bit of a blister, but by tomorrow I'm sure it'll be fine. It's part of crafting. Injuries are inevitable. You're going to get cut, burnt, something. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and take the book off really quick so you can see what the finished tray looks like. I will continue to leave the book on here overnight just to make sure that everything's glued down tightly, and then I will put the book away and we should be good to go. So take the book off. As you can see, a lot of it already is sticking down pretty good. Still a couple places that want to pop up, so the book's going to have to stay on there overnight till it's all cured. But here is how the tray looks completed from the top. Got our wood slats down here. Like I said, there's some gaps. They don't particularly bother me. If you're making something like this and it bothers you, you can either be much more vigilant about being more exact with your cuts. Like I see, where is it? Right over here, some white space. Like I said, you're not even going to notice it once you have this on a stand with some decor on top. If it really bothers you, the gaps, you could always take some of the stain and go over the gaps and wipe it away to make it blend in more. I might do that, probably not, but I can always do that to disguise it a little bit more. A lot of this is just where it's not necessarily a gap, it's just where the wood chipped a little bit when I was wiping the stain off. Like I said, it doesn't bother me. So this is what it's going to look like looking straight down on. As you can see, I did, let's see the way the camera is here so I can show you, a little bit of distressing, nothing major, just a little bit for a tiny bit of character, like around the edges and stuff where you would normally see wear anyway. And this is what it looks like from the sides. You know, just a little bit of distressing on the ivory paint. Like I said, minimal. I didn't want to look like it's been in a train wreck, but just that you know, make it look like it's been well loved and used. And yeah, so that's what it looks like. We went from the just plain brown tray with the pineapple and the ivory paint, some wood slats, some jute around the handles. I like it. I think it has more of a farmhouse feel. I feel like it just looks a little bit more modern, not so you know, outdated. Feel free to let me know what you think down below in the comments. Did you like it better before? Do you like it better after? This is the first tray. I will be breaking this down into several videos. I was going to try to put it in one, but I didn't realize it was going to be as time consuming to record. So no big deal. That way you can just look at the makeovers that you want to see if you don't want to see all of them. That's entirely up to you. Like I said, let me know down in the comments below whether you liked it better before or after. This is, as you can see, very easy to do. You may not have this particular shape tray, but you could do it with a rectangle tray or any other shape. You at least have the basic concept shown here. I know at Family Dollar they have them. I'm not sure if Dollar Tree has them or not. A lot of local craft stores may have them. The rectangular trays that are the raw wood, you could do the same type of thing. And even if you can vary the color, whether you want the white, the ivory, black, if you want to stain it, your tray, you can do this with the handles, you can do the slats like I showed you if this is something that you like. Another option that I was considering instead of the slats was maybe to cut, make a template and then cut burlap and glue it down like with Mod Podge. So instead of the wood you would have the burlap. That's always an option, and you would still get the farmhouse feel. So yeah, so this is my tray made over, and as soon as I saw this tray I pretty much had this idea in mind. I am pleased with the way it turned out for the most part. Like I said, a few flaws, but that's to be expected in a handmade or upcycled or makeover project. It's just part of the whole handmade thing. So again, let me know what you think, and in the next video I will be doing one of the other tray projects. We'll get these trays made and then we'll work on some goodies to fill them up and then put together our little home decor. So until the next video, I hope you enjoyed this one. I'm sorry it got a little bit longer than I intended, but just the nature of showing the process of something being done. And until the next video and the next tray project, bye everyone. See you in the next one.